This is a First and 10 Monday on Coaching Football with Brian Clee. In this First and 10 Monday, going to talk about game planning against 11 personnel 2x2. Couple concepts for a 3-4 team to consider is always where do you want to slant the front, and especially how do you want the outside linebacker on the backside of that slant to fit within that front? Do you want him working inside a tight end and canceling the C gap in what we call a cannon, or do you want him working outside the tight end in D gap in what we call a dog? And then also, what do you want to do coverage wise to the two detached receiver side? So for me, I like to keep our 3 guys over 2 guys to be able to play our 2 read or our palms, our matchup coverage to the 2 receiver side. That lets us defend a potential bubble very aggressively with our corner. It also lets us be in position to match a fake bubble go or something of that nature. As far as the front, with that in mind, we're going to slant the front. Initially, we're going to slant to that 2 detached receiver side. That frees up the outside linebacker to that side to not have to be part of the fit until the quarterback would maybe pull it on something or the ball gets spilled out, and lets him be in position to help reroute a potential seam, which we'll talk about here on the last diagram. Our outside linebacker, if you're sending him into the C gap, that has advantages against some things, it has disadvantages against other things. So first off, sweep here. Team has some sort of let's draw up jailbreak on the backside here. So that receiver 1-2 comes back, and corner and the slot receiver's working out to the corner, and then everyone's stepping to reach. And right here, right now, sending that outside linebacker in the C gap is a little bit of an issue. If that tackle trusts his reach step, he can potentially get that outside linebacker, that 9 technique, running the cannon into C gap, could potentially get him reached, and that allows the tight end to continue to climb to either the will or the deep safety there. And the Mac probably, if that center's decent, all right, steps up, back's going away, getting out wide, quarterback's carrying out a little bit of a fake. That will linebacker's probably going to be cut off by that Mac linebacker in this picture. We put our Mac towards the field side. He's probably getting cut off by that center. You're still okay because you should be, if that tight end does get the will sealed, the down safety, the deep safety can work downhill. Problem is, he's got to be a little bit soft on this outside release because that might be a route. So if that tight end doesn't hook up on the will, I guess the good part is the will linebacker, he sees the wide flow and whatnot, he's going to be able to come out and be completely clean if the tight end doesn't hook up. And if the tight end does seal the will right there, that lets the deep safety basically work a crack replace type technique as he's keying that tight end for us. We're man-to-man out here, so most likely we get some sort of clear out route. He stalks when the corner finally breaks down. And then the backside stud linebacker, he's peeking for this keep. And then the free, he's keying that number 2. He sees number 2 out. He's going to get eyes to number 1. Corner is going to bring it really hard. As number 2 comes out, he's yelling alert. He's attacking. Once we yell alert, we don't need that stud in the coverage anymore. And especially with a run read out of that offensive tackle with the back going away, the stud's not going to be in the coverage at that point. He's playing quarterback to cut back at that point. So free, he gets that alert. His eyes go to that number 1. Number 1's going in. That corner's chasing it. He's got to be ready for the fake jailbreak and go and stay inside and on top of that route. If you change up where you send what we call a Bob linebacker, if you send him on D-gap responsibility, what we call a dog, I like that a little bit more if you're getting more sweep, or if that's the play you feel you got to stop. He's going to be able to set the edge on that tight end. Will linebacker work downhill. Again, he sees the wide flow. He's going to fit on the offensive tackle. And now the read, I think, ends up being, it buys your deep safety more time to make the read here, as he sees that play get stretched out by the outside linebacker, able to start working downhill and then fit off what actually happens there with the running back. If the reach does happen, continue outside. If the edge gets set and the ball carrier cuts up, he can fit inside and be clean to make the tackle. Power on. So if the tight end's trying to base block that outside linebacker, I think this is really, really advantageous, because you're going to spill the ball to the perimeter. Offensive tackle locks on. Most teams that I've seen, if they're running some sort of power, they're going to double team the nose there. Guards pulling and looking to wrap up. That tackle, if he's good, he's going to wash that 4 technique down. So you got the linebacker wrapping there. Will steps up. Now, it depends on how much that 4 technique ends up getting washed on his slant. As that 4 technique, if he really gets washed hard, he's essentially going to close both the B and A gaps. That Will wants to scrape outside at that point. If he sees an open run through, we want to take that MAC linebacker. Both the guard and the back are working away. So that Will linebacker, that MAC linebacker, excuse me, he's going to scrape opposite A. Opposite A gets closed up. Maybe that nose puts his foot in the ground and starts fighting back against that double team. The 4 technique cloudies things up. We're going to be able to bracket that pulling guard with both the Will and MAC linebackers. Let's draw up a bubble out on the perimeter here. So we got bubble. Once again, we're in our read coverage. Corner has 2 out right away. That's his key. He's alerting. He's coming up. Free. 2 goes out. He gets his eyes to 1. Working for depth for the possible fake bubble go. Cornerback really makes a play. That's what's coming the next play for a team that runs bubbles. Stud linebacker. Again, he's got run read out of that offensive tackle. He's got back away. He's playing the possible quarterback keep. Not needed, again, in the coverage, especially with run reads telling him what's going on. And then lastly, the nice thing about power on here, all right, that tight end washes down the Bob linebacker there. The Will or Mac might scrape out all the way there if all the windows get closed up by the 0, the 4, and the Bob linebacker, the 9 technique outside linebacker there. This again, if you're going inside on the power on, if you're running that cannon to the C gap, the deep safety can key the tight end. That tight end hooks up. He's able to become part of the fit and really play very, very effectively against the run with that look. And again, the corner's probably getting run off, which is fine. We're in man on this side. If you are going outside, that does 2 things. Still a pretty good, pretty easy fit for the deep safety there. Let's get the Bob linebacker back up there. All right, so he works up field. Tight end washes him out. The nice part is our inside linebackers have a shorter run here by working outside. So again, advantages, disadvantages to everything you do. Working outside, that's going to make the run for both the inside linebackers to fit shorter run. It's probably not getting spilled to the perimeter, but the power is going to hit in C gap here. And again, the deep safety key in that tight end's shoulders turn completely. He can pull his trigger, fit downhill, and hit everything with his inside shoulder. Make sure it goes back to the MAC and the Will linebacker. Probably one of the tougher concepts that you can see on defense is split flow with pullers. Counter GT bash, for me, bash means the running back is going across the quarterback's face on a sweep, but then the quarterback is working back opposite of him. So the GT side ends up being over here, and that 4 technique ends up being the read on this. At least that's what I'd expect. They could make the Bob, the 9 technique, the read as well, but that's going to make it a little easier for him to make sure he doesn't get part of the play. So double on the nose, guard pull away and kick, tackle wrapping up, and then that tight end is part of the sweep. So we probably get a little bit more of a stalk clip because the ball's designed to go to the perimeter there. And again, that quarterback is reading that 4 technique. Ideally, I want the 4 technique to chase that. I don't, anytime we get the ball running east-west, that's better. And if I got both guys pulling away as that 4 technique, I want to go chase it and make it not happen. Will linebacker, he sees guard away. In the game plan, depending on who is the better ball player, I might change him to a back read. In the preseason, he's taught read guard, so he's going to fit to opposite A. Opposite A is closed by the 0 technique. He's going to be underneath the pullers. If the MAC linebacker steps up, he sees that down block, he fills that window first. We're going to go overlap, and he's going to end up outside of the pullers. 5 technique on this side is looking to spill it as well, so that might scrape all the way to the perimeter. Depending on what happens out here, the stud linebacker, he sees those down blocks, he's playing up, he's the bonus guy playing force there. Most likely they need to stalk block out there. Otherwise, anything that gets spilled, we're going to be able to fall in on the quarterback when it's spilled. So now, that takes care of the GT side. And really, if the 4 technique just plays his responsibility of hit pocket that puller, the GT side should not exist because no one's blocking back on him. That's the read for the quarterback. So that's something game plan wise. If the quarterback, if the running back is the better ball player, I might put both linebackers keying him primarily, and that would allow us to cancel any quarterback GT or quarterback power or something coming back this way, maybe a trap. Should be able to let us cancel it out just by that 4 technique working back inside. So now the big concept that I was talking about, do we send that outside linebacker inside or outside? It really doesn't matter as much here, especially if both the Will and 4 are playing the GT side of it. So if we send the Bob inside the C gap, he's going to get blocked by the tight end, but that lets the deep safety pull his trigger, and the ball's going to the perimeter anyways. Deep safety is going to be able to come downhill, and we got it inside-outside on that tight end. We're going to at least have an on-block defender for that running back. Now, something that is always a big deal when you are a too-high team. That deep safety needs to be a tackler because the defense is structured where he's going to end up in a lot of one-on-one tackling situations after he gets a run read. If we switch that up and have the Bob linebacker work a dog, he sets the edge, that ball's got to cut back, deep safety's down, and he's there to make the tackle in C gap if the Bob's out in D gap. So those two are going to play off each other. I really don't care which way you play it. If you're a little bit slower at deep safety, I think you want to try and set the edge and play the Bob in the D gap with what I call a dog. If you're a little bit faster, you want to be more aggressive with things. You want to make sure power on spills. You could be sending the Bob linebacker inside and let the deep safety run it down. With the misdirection like this, I think it's probably just a little bit better to make sure that you're boxing that ball back because your defense is going to get split in half, again, depending on what you change that will linebacker or those inside linebacker reads to. The last thing, a team that runs slants on the two detached side and what I call high-low or a bench concept on the tight end side. So right here, here comes our slants. Tight end is running the low route, and then there's the high route out of the single receiver. Corners manned up, trying to stay on top and inside. Once again, talking about how you want to play that Bob linebacker. If you're sending that Bob linebacker inside, this is a lot of space when you're in man on that tight end side. So that might be another consideration. Looks like I'm trying to say most of the time, game plan wise, is better off having that Bob linebacker, especially since you're sending the slant away from him to be the D-gap player. He gets that outside release. He's gonna feel like it's a little bit of a reach block for a second. He's got a better chance of hooking up in the coverage, potentially. And then you still have the will linebacker. He gets all the pass sets out of the offensive line. Running back stepping up for pass. That will linebacker is going to push out there late, but they're going to have space to throw the ball to that tight end. Now, it might not be a very deep route or anything, but he's probably going to catch it, be able to turn up field, and we'll have pursuit able to get to it, but it's going to be completed, in my opinion. Even if you're sending the Bob outside, he's probably not hooking up because he's thinking pass rush. He's not part of the coverage the way we design our coverage and would be playing the coverage over there. On the slant side, corner sees both guys work vertical and then break in. Corner's going to stay on top and outside. Our stud linebacker, 2, he goes for the reroute, 2 breaks inside. He's going to play inside and underneath that slant. So corner on top, stud linebacker underneath. Mac linebacker, he gets the reads. The back is now out in the coverage. He's playing underneath the slant by number 2 and the free safety. He has to work and protect the post. That's what 2 high teams have to do. So as soon as he's going to work his horizontal stem, and he's working to stay in position to be on top and working really to get inside and keep that post protected. So he's got to work that horizontal stem very, very, very quickly to be able to be in position. Ultimately, that Mac linebacker, if he's dropping underneath of it, we're in really good shape. Worst case scenario, that running back ends up being out in the route. So if we get that, this is where things get a little bit dicey. The Mac linebacker is going to yell push. The stud's really going to end up in the same position. He's going to be in position to run down on that if the ball gets thrown out there late as some sort of check down. Most of the time with slants, he's the read. If he works out, most teams, in my experience, they're keying that curl flat defender, which is what the stud is doing, even though he's keying 2 and rerouting 2 and working in our read coverage. He works out, they're going to try and hit inside. If that Mac linebacker is in the quarterback's vision, he's probably going to hold it and either work back to the other side or check it down or something like that. If he's not in the quarterback's vision, he's got a heck of a chance at a pick. And again, the key thing with playing 2 high coverages, that free safety's keying that number 2. Really, he should be aligned further inside. Should have him drawn up further inside, so that way his horizontal stem is less, to make sure he doesn't let that slant get caught and split the defense down the middle, or continue deeper as a post. So those are some ideas and concepts for playing a 3-4 against 11 personnel, 2x2. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something.
If you think it would be fun to participate in a 1st and 10 Monday in some way, shape, or form, whether that is you presenting an offensive formation or 2 and how you would go about game planning against how I would try to defend that, and I'm going to exchange some ideas about how we're going to game plan to defend that offensive concept and those formations, or if you want to flip that script and you want to have me present an offensive formation or 2 and some offensive concepts and how we're going to game plan for how you would go about trying to defend us, and you're exchanging your ideas about how to put together a defensive game plan to stop that, that'd be great. There's my contact information. Hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment down below, or shoot me an email.